Well, welcome to the Aging Boomers. I'm your host, Frank Sampson. Of course, for all of you that are regular listeners on our show, we discuss so many of the issues facing boomers, their parents, and what we know, of course, is an aging population, which I fall into that category. Want to welcome everybody, and I just want to thank everybody for all their support. So many of you have downloaded the shows. You can do so on iTunes, iHeartRadio. A lot of you just download our free app, the Aging Boomers free app, on your iPhone or Android phone. And many of you have just gone to our website at agingboomers.com. So thank you so much for all your support there. I want to remind everybody that today's show is sponsored by Senior Care Authority, a professional senior placement and elder care management organization that has a national network of advisors to help in determining the right path for senior living and receiving proper care. So whether it's in-home care, assisted living, residential, or memory care, or just getting some advice from an advisor in your area, you can do so by calling Senior Care Authority at 888-809-1231, and you can be connected with an advisor in your area. Or you could go directly to our website at www.seniorcareauthority.com. I'm always excited with all of our guests, but with this one I'm excited because he's a neighbor. He's actually right here in the Sonoma area where I'm based. I want to welcome John Grayson Heide, who's the author of a new book called The-Flight-of-the-Pickerings. It's a soulful love story about aging and dying. John has dedicated the book to people all over the world who are dealing with end-of-life issues. He'll discuss with us his vision of a future society where individuals are naturally granted the right of self-determination and always guided by a deep love of life. So, John, welcome to the Aging Boomers. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us.
Well, thank you, Frank. I'm pleased to be here.
Great. So, the book's, I don't think it's not out yet, right? Pretty soon? Is that right?
It is. It is out there
as
we speak,
okay.
On Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com and iTunes and whatnot. It in the print version, it's on a pre-sale basis for the Kindle version or
Gotcha.
E-version. That comes out and will be released on March 5th. And the pre-sale period until March 5th, I decided to combine it with a fundraiser for hospice. So all the author's proceeds that are accumulating since, I think, January 9th is when I officially sort of came out with the book, will be donated to local and national, depending on how much money is there, will be donated to the hospice organizations, which I feel is an organization that needs and deserves a lot of support.
That's tremendous. I think that's great. So people could go to Amazon, people could go to Barnes and Noble and get that version, right?
Yeah, you can get the print version right now,
okay.
And it'll be sent to you right away. And it's also in a few local bookstores here in Sonoma.
Good. So I always like to ask authors, and I'm proud to say I'm one now too, but I'd like to ask you what inspired you to write the book, and it's an interesting story, so I'd love for you to explain.
Okay, it is an interesting story. Years ago, my wife and I moved to Hawaii, and we invested in a beautiful piece of property that had development potential. We thought we would, cut off a couple lots, sell those off, and retire as Kona coffee farmers over there, right, overlooking the beautiful Hawaii coastline. And anyway, we poured our life savings into this project, borrowed money for development on a short-term note, and just when the lots got ready, the whole market crashed, and we basically lost all our life savings. And during that period, I was getting really grumpy, as my wife would generously say. I was just, I was really bummed out and not in a good place in my life. And one morning, I woke up with this dream. I dreamed this story. It came to me kind of like a movie. I watched it in my dream and woke up, bolted upright, woke up my wife, and said, "You got to hear this." And that was the genesis of it. And she said, "You got to write that." And I said, "Sure." I had never really written anything except build tiny things back in college and stuff. And then our friends heard about this dream, and they encouraged me, and so I finally just said, I needed to do something and redirect my life's energies, and the book really helped with that. It refocused my attention and energies to writing this book, and it kind of helped turn my life around for the better. And so it took me a while, about 8 years, to really complete the book to my satisfaction. I had to rewrite it, I don't know how many times, but I learned the craft and art of writing in the process and kept getting better at it. And I adapted it into a screenplay because really it would make a great movie, I must say myself. So that was kind of how it started.
So tell us a little more either about the dream or a little more about the book. Give us a little overview if you can.
Well, it's all fiction. It's not based on any real character, but I saw it happening in Florida, and which I've never lived in Florida. I've been to Florida exactly twice in my life for short visits.
That's wild. Yeah.
So everything came out of left field, so to speak. And but it's a story about Guy and Dorothy Pickering, and Dorothy is Guy's lifelong love since they were children. The book goes into little periods of history about their lives together. But she now, unfortunately, is suffering from dementia and cancer, and literally is in pain and confused and about to die, about to pass away. And she had made a pact years ago with Guy, her husband Guy, that whoever gets into that position first, the other one's going to help them transition. And they had this understanding. Well, when it came time to do this, Guy couldn't bring himself to do it. He just couldn't imagine doing that to Dorothy. And so the dilemma for him was solved by deciding that he was getting older. He didn't want to live without her. He decided, I'll just go with her. I'll just, transition into the afterlife, saunter through the pearly gates right alongside his lovely wife. So that's the heart of the story is his attempts at that. Well, what happens, of course, is life keeps getting in the way of death, and all these crazy comic circumstances come up, and including a visit from his grandson and his wife, and just his attempts fail. He's not very good at this kind of thing. So I want to say that this is obviously a dark subject, but I treated it with a lot of humor. People laugh out loud when they read the book. I believe you got to treat everything in life with a smile and a sense of humor. Otherwise, it's just all kind of too dark. So this book is a curious blend of a sincere, deep subject that's very serious, and some lighthearted comedy right along the entire way.
Yeah, it's interesting, John. You've come out with a book that somewhat relates, I guess, to issues that are happening in our society, and here we are, both of us, based in California, and there's some decisions being made about whether people should be able to decide on the end of their life and how that takes place. And there's various states that have already agreed to do that, I think in the state of Oregon and maybe other states. So is it just kind of it seems to be kind of ironic that you come out with a book during a time where this type of an issue is being discussed, certainly in California and different parts of the country. Is it just ironic?
Yeah, ironic, and it's timely. You could call it just timely.
Yeah, right.
You're absolutely. Thank you for putting out a show that's dealing with aging issues, because like in unprecedented numbers, people are getting to that stage of life, and I believe thoroughly that a decision, intensely personal decision like this, when it's clear that you're coasting into the end, and in pain, and your life is miserable, it should not be prolonged by HMOs and doctors and moralistic attitudes, whether religious or secular. It doesn't matter, that take away your right to peacefully transition, and you have to live in misery and with suffering. I think that's criminal. It's insane. We should have more control over that. And I also recognize what a complicated situation that is, and must be treated on an individual basis and very consciously. But I would vote for more family oriented and individually oriented decisions and discussions, and we are moving in that direction. As you know, California recently came out with the physician assisted endings, and that was a huge step in the right direction. I think there's even more fine-tuning to be done with that. In other words, it's still a felony for a family member to do that without a doctor actually administering that last dose. I think that's a little draconian in its application. But it's a topic we need to talk about and deal with, because we're all going to deal with it sooner or later.
Yeah, it's nothing to make that seems like, well, it's a big deal, but making those decisions on, pets that we've had our whole life and love, and we don't want to put them through any pain and suffering. But I guess humans just seems to be a different story out there. But I agree with you. I hope it changes. But I'm curious, just going back to the book. Did you have something going on in your family that? How did you? To dream. Sometimes I wake up from a dream going, "How did I dream that? I wasn't even thinking about that." But was it something that was going on in your family, or was it just that you were going through some difficult times at the time yourself on this particular subject matter?
Good question, and yes and no. My folks had passed or were in the process of declining around that time, but the issues. This wasn't an issue at that point, and there was members of our extended family, my extended family, that did where a combination of family and professionals did get involved and took matters in their own hands, and it was appropriate. It was appropriate, and it was peaceful, and it was the right thing. That did happen a few years prior to it, to my dream. Mm-hmm. But none of that was really active for me. I have to say, this was just sort of a gift. It was just downloaded here. Here, John, take this, roll with it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw it, but I was traveling this week and at the airport and had a little time to kill and looking at the magazine stand, and there I saw Time magazine came out with, I don't know what the title was, but I think the pill to cure Alzheimer's or something. And, we all hope that that might be the case. But for those of us that have been involved in this business, there's been a lot of those situations, and unfortunately they don't come to fruition. Hopefully this will be different. But there were a lot of articles about aging in the magazine, and one of the things they talked about was fear of death, and that many of us have been very fearful of death, but that seems to be changing. Do you think it is? Do you think that as boomers are aging, maybe they're less fearful of death than our parents? Or what are your thoughts there? Anything?
I hope you're right. I see signs of that. I see signs of that in my own existence and in the culture, and I would hope that that's true. I've sort of, in speaking personally, kind of realizing that death is the obvious companion of life. I mean, they're inseparable. It's two sides of a ball. It's yin and yang, light and dark. We have life, we have death, and I've gotten more comfortable with the fact that, and I believe it's a fact, that death is with us from the moment we're born. In some way, it's just a part of our life, and therefore, to embrace that, to look at it square in the eyes, and not with fear, not be afraid, is really kind of freeing. And I see that the majority of people are in denial or in fear of death, and I think that's at the core of this incredible grasping for every last breath, which at some points is admirable, and at some points it's just futile. And I think it's when it's time to go, it's time to go, and we shouldn't be afraid of it. I think there's plenty of firsthand stories of people that have got to that edge and come back, and it appears that it's kind of a good light tunnel that we're headed for.
Yeah, it's interesting because in my work, and you have a character in your book with dementia, and I work very closely with families who have loved ones with various types of dementia, like Alzheimer's. And, in doing this for years now, I've really come to the conclusion that, generally speaking, maybe not in all cases, but I think in certainly most cases that I've seen, that it's more difficult on the family than the individual. Many times you hear comments, they feel so bad for the person who has the disease, because they can't remember things anymore and all that. But really, I have found that it's probably more challenging for the families to see than the individual who is living in that space. They actually may be okay at a certain point, but it's it's tough for the family to see. And I wonder your thoughts as it relates to dying. I think it's tougher on the family probably than the individual again, to go through it. Yeah. What are your thoughts there?
Well, in Native cultures, when an elder got too old to take care of themselves, and it was too much a burden on the tribe, they would ceremoniously love this person and send them out into the snow, because that's the natural order of things. And I think that families can move toward a space where the pain of that, it'll always be pain with loss, of course. We love our loved ones, and it's hard. It's definitely harder on the people that are left behind than the person that is leaving. That's why I think talking about this stuff and dealing with it consciously is the right thing to do. That's kind of what I'm left with, and I'm hoping that the flight of the pickerings is just a way to get people to look at it and look at the issue and talk about it and make plans, perhaps. Advanced directives are now common, and they it's an important part. And you're right. Families are the ones that are dealt with, or have to deal with, I should say, this subject on a much more loss basis than the person that's really on their way out. But I think that we remember the big picture and we keep loving our hearts. That's going to be it. That's our key.
You know, we always talk on this show, really trying to keep drumming it in the families to help them prepare them for the inevitable, and so they prepare. What are your thoughts? We could never talk about this. I mean, I don't mind if we talk about this on every one of our shows because it's so important. But you mentioned like advanced healthcare directives. Any other thoughts you have, or do you actually get into it in the book, even though it's a fiction book? Do you get into it in the book at all? Those types of things?
Not really. The book is a story. It's really it's a good light read. I mean, people can breeze through it. It's not a heavy book at all, and the fact that I chose just naturally. It wasn't even a conscious decision to make a lot of comedic elements in it. Was just felt natural because I didn't want this to be preachy, and I don't want to sound like an expert in this realm at all. I'm not an expert. I haven't died yet, so I'm not. Who am I to say anything? I'm just somebody that got a story and decided to tell it. But I do love the story, and I can't, like I described earlier, I can't even claim responsibility for the genesis of it. It was just sort of like, here's the gift. Here, take this and see what you can do with it. And I will say that people are really liking the book, though. It's getting 5-star reviews, and it's a great story. I hope people get something from it.
Great. So people can go, to learn more about the book or how to get it. I know you have a website also at www.the-flight-of-the-pickerings, plural.com. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That's right. They can go there, and there's a Facebook page or Facebook element to it. You can go there and find it on Facebook, and of course there's the easiest way is probably just log on to Amazon, and there's reviews posted there, and you can check it out. Like I said, if you buy it before March 5th, it's a good time because hospice will be benefiting, and who knows, maybe even beyond that. I just sort of selected a period at random to kick it off. Great. And it's out there, and I'm pleased with it so far. It's fun to see something I worked on. I rewrote it probably, I don't know, 25, 50 times, I forget. Yeah. But I just kept trying to make it better, and it's okay. I think it turned out all right.
Great. And the Pickerings, how'd you come up with the name the Pickerings? Was that in the dream too?
No, actually, the name wasn't in the dream. I think it's a combination of my wife and myself just were perusing the story that very morning, and somehow that name just popped in too, and so it all happened fairly quickly in terms of taking shape, and then took a while to get polished.
Gotcha. Great. Well, John, thank you so much for joining us on the Aging Boomers. I really appreciate it. And check out his book, The Flight of the Pickerings. Go on to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, go to his website. A lot of different ways to get it. And hopefully next discussion will be having you on and talking about the movie and how it's doing. So we hope that will happen. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be great. And good luck. Yeah, good luck with that. And again, thanks so much for joining us, John. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Frank.
Great.
My pleasure.
Great. And thank you all for joining us again. Just be safe out there, and we'll talk to you all real soon.